On one hand, you have politicians making up lies to demonize legal immigrants. And on the other, they're calling someone a threat to democracy after they tried to steal an election. Are these really equivalent things?
I mean, no, not at all. I mean, listen, I mean, it's an absurd story. It's an absurd story at all. And it's also absurd to say that just because, you say something about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, which is completely consistent with their rhetoric, you are inciting violent, potentially deadly threats. I mean, obviously, no one likes to see this. It's a terrible situation. It's a scary situation. But look, what's amazing about this is this happened like less than 2 days ago, and we've already ratcheted it up into a fundraising appeal, a back and forth. It's already even the illusion of a pause in any kind of sort of normal political hostilities is kind of a folly at this point. So, yeah, I think it's just sort of become this disturbing background music to what's become a very long and very, obviously kind of exhausting campaign.
Hans, even by our bananas standards, it has been a crazy 48 hours. What sticks out to you the most?
The phrase that Mark just used, normal political hostilities, because that's not what we're in, right? I mean, we are in, and it just hasn't been the last 48 hours. It's really been the entire election, and I don't know when it ends, but there's clearly escalation. And I don't know if any of us really know in the press corps, unless we're clairvoyant, where this is going to go. But it's not going to go to, I suspect, a very happy or sane place. And, what's most interesting to me about the way this story's unfolded, at least in the last few days, is the extent to which the Trump campaign is doubling down on these charges. And I would, you're always trying to figure out what campaigns are doing, what they're saying, what they're thinking behind the scenes based on their public pronouncements. But there's a theory out there that every day that the Trump campaign talks about immigration and has that be the focus, that's the day they like. And I don't know if I'm entirely convinced of that when you talk to sources around town, but they want to have this conversation. They want to keep the focus on there. And to Mark and me, it might be puzzling, but, I think something is going on there where they think this might be advantageous to them. And I can't quite figure it out, but, maybe we should do some more reporting on it.
Well, let's bring in Aaron Haynes, editor-at-large for The 19th and an MSNBC contributor. Aaron, you have been covering the Harris campaign from the beginning. We just lost her signal. Boys, I'm stuck with you. I want to take a listen to Vice President Harris's answer on the economy earlier today, because no matter what day of the week it is, I want to talk about money. Watch this.
4 years ago, when we came in during the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. We came in during the worst public health epidemic in centuries. We had then a lot of work to do to clean up a mess. As of today, we have created over 16 million new jobs, over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. We have the lowest Black unemployment rate in generations. We have invested in small businesses.
So all those things are true. And tomorrow, the Federal Reserve is expected to cut rates. Hans, you're giving me the not so much true. It sounds like to me she is making her.
Was trending down when they came in. And
sorry, what did you say? Sorry, say that again.
Unemployment was trending down when they came in, right? It had come off its COVID peak. And Biden in particular always talks about inflation being it came in at 9%, but that's not true. Harris didn't say it there. She's hinted at that in the past, but go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
Okay, fine. But then as long as we're going there, let's stay there for a moment. It's not a great argument that Democrats make that when Joe Biden took office, unemployment was at this super high level, because the reason unemployment was so high is because the country was shut down because of COVID. However, even before COVID, unemployment and productivity under Donald Trump were essentially the same as they were under President Obama. So we'll just level set there. But let's talk about the presentation VP Harris is putting forward. Is she now making this pitch of what she's offering, what the future is going to be is capitalism for all or capitalism for the little guy? Is that what her pitch is? And do you think it's going to land? Hans?
Yeah, it's opportunity is the word she keeps sort of using, an opportunity for all. And she's clearly committed to it. What's interesting about the way Harris talks about the economy is it's always in the future tense. And it's especially acute in her political ads. In her political ads, she's talking about how they need to do more to get costs down. They need to be more to make groceries more affordable. It's all on the cost side of the equation. Where for the better part of the Biden administration, it wasn't quite victory laps, but they were close. The Biden administration and President Biden was always asking credit for how hot and great the economy was. And it's true that unemployment is at historic lows and stayed at historical lows for 33, 34 months. But there wasn't meeting voters where they are. And what you're seeing from Harris is sort of nodding at voters more that they're struggling, that high prices have affected them, and that she has a plan to remedy it. And that is, small business tax credits, money for first-time home buyers, more child tax credits. I mean, she's laid out her economic plan at this point. It involves a lot of tax breaks.
Okay, well, perhaps she's doing that, Mark, because she listened to the criticisms, how Bidenomics wasn't working or it wasn't landing with the American people. She listened to the criticisms. She's pivoted and moved forward. And if we're talking about looking to cut costs for the American people, let's talk about Donald Trump. Because literally today, Donald Trump came out in public and said, your car insurance is up 73%, and I'm going to cut that number in half. My question is, who's hearing that and saying right on? Is he running to be the CEO of Geico? Because the president of the United States has no involvement in the price of car insurance. I want to know how statements like that align with the idea that he is good for everyday people's economic woes. Mark?
Well, the short answer is they don't. I mean, in any real world looking at this, as you mentioned, I mean, if he were to run for the CEO of Geico, he might have a more direct real world effect on this. I mean, the fact is, we're talking about economic messaging here, and I hate to use such a crass political kind of prism through which we can look at this, but obviously the message about whatever the economy was improving under Biden, if in fact it was, and I think it was. I mean, there are a lot of indicators they could point to, but it wasn't landing. It was not effective. Joe Biden wasn't seen as, I think, a effective messenger for that. And Harris, I think, as Hans said, is trying to be future looking. I mean, there are terms like the opportunity economy, whether that's going to be effective or not, who knows. But I think what she is also doing is, rather than sort of getting into the minutia of the numbers, she is trying to draw a contrast between what things felt like in America in 2020. September of 2020 was a very bleak period in America, whether the unemployment was trending down or what have you at that point. And she does want to try to sort of reclaim a trajectory in which she says, we are trying to propel this thing forward. We are in a much better place than we were at the end of the pandemic. We have led the country out of the pandemic, and the future is only going to be brighter from here. So that's sort of one way that she's differentiating herself, or trying to, from the Biden record that she's part of.
Hans, in that same vein, today Donald Trump said he is bringing back SALT, the state and local tax deduction, and he's saying it the day before he gives a speech in Long Island, which people will care about there. People in places like New York and New Jersey care a lot about it. But of course, Donald Trump is the person who put a cap on SALT when he was president. You've been reporting on this. What can you tell us?
Pour a margarita out for the Republican senators who have to not only kind of stay on sides with Trump, but stay on sides with their own position. Donald Trump has completely flip-flopped on SALT. He was the one, as you just mentioned it, is said he was going to cap it. You can only have, $10,000, $10,000 of your taxes paid for state and local taxes deducted from your federal returns. It hit blue states particularly hard. The number of Republicans on the Senate side, or even within the White House, that you talked about it, that thought they're being mischievous here. It was basically pitting different states against each other, punishing blue states for their high taxes. They loved it. It was Republican orthodoxy. And on a dime this afternoon, in a True Social post, Donald Trump just did the equivalent of saying, just kidding. And this is not a minor tax issue. I mean, you tease this out over 10 years. It's $1.2 trillion is what it'll cost if you do what Trump wants to do. And so, big picture, taking a step back at all the fiscal policies of both candidates, but especially Trump, there is a tax cut in every pot that he's offering. There's a tax cut, and it's Christmas morning here for him. And it just every day, not every day, but sort of consistently he comes up with new tax cuts that he's promising, with no realistic way to pay for it. And take a look at the graphic in the Wall Street Journal. Rich Rubin, an old friend of ours from Bloomberg, has an excellent breakdown of how much everything is going to cost. At a certain point, bond markets are going to revolt, and they're not going to like debt to GDP ratios that this country hasn't seen in peacetime.